right, Mize, we're dead set in the middle of the offseason here, and that was a great time. You see former players come on and talk about some of the greats they played with, and the Miami Dolphins have found themselves in the news recently about a former great that's been brought up and maybe a little disrespect he's gotten recently. Before we get into your story, I'm going to ask all Dolphins fans, comment below, which Miami Dolphin great do you feel hasn't gotten the recognition that he deserves? Let us know what you think. All right, Mize, let's get back to it. What do you have there on the Dolphins there?
Yeah, Nick. So Brian Urlacher, not a Dolphin, who was a Bear, okay, was on the Pat McAfee show, and he was talking about a Dolphin legend who doesn't get enough credit as far as Hall of Fame votes go. And I'm going to read the quote first, and then we can discuss it a little bit. But Urlacher on the Pat McAfee show said, "I'm going to give you one guy, Zach Thomas. How the F is Zach Thomas not in the Hall of Fame? Put his stats up against mine, Ray Lewis, any linebacker who's even close to the Hall of Fame or even in the Hall of Fame, and he's right there with us, if not better than us in every category. It pisses me off. Every year I advocate for him to get in, and he was a finalist a couple of years, but they just don't put him in, and I don't understand." So Urlacher seems pretty fired up, and I wonder, Nick, is Zach Thomas really just on the same level as every other linebacker great?
Yeah, I mean, you and I both sat down. We crunched the numbers because, we don't just talk about things. We do the research. We back it up. And so we broke it down and compared Thomas with Urlacher and brought up Derek Brooks, the Hall of Fame linebacker for the Buccaneers, who was Thomas's contemporary. All three of these guys, middle linebackers during the same time period in the NFL. And when you look at the numbers there's a couple things that jump out, and it's on a per season basis. Zach Thomas had more tackles per season than both Derek Brooks and Brian Urlacher. And it's not even really that close when you look at his number, 133. How about all pros? Thomas had 7 to Urlacher's 5. Derek Brooks, led the way with 9, but again, 7 more than Urlacher. Look at negative plays. Negative plays is what I call the tackle for loss or a sack. Some linebackers blitz more. Some of them, don't have a chance to pass rush more. So I didn't want to separate sacks and tackles for loss depending on the scheme they play in. You got Urlacher with leading the pack with 13. Thomas a little far behind with 7, but ahead of Derek Brooks. Again, he's not last in any of these except for turnovers, forced, fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, interceptions. But he's 0.6 per season behind. Like, he's right there in the mix. That's a tiny little gap between him and Brooks and Urlacher. So Urlacher's got a really good point that when you compare the numbers and look at the data, Zach Thomas deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is, but it's just like, it seems nowadays that like a guy, like if they don't make headlines, perfect on and off the field, made a ton of splash plays, and they had those moments like a Super Bowl win or a big playoff win where they made they're like, for instance, Urlacher brings up Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis had tons of moments, huge plays, like where he picks off Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl, his last Super Bowl run. His final season, he makes a run and wins the Super Bowl. He had tons and tons of memorable moments throughout his career. And if you're just overall like an amazing player, but you're just really solid and no splash plays, sometimes you get glossed over. And I think that's what Urlacher is getting at, is this guy is as good. He just didn't maybe not have a couple of like ESPN top 10 plays.
Well, and like you brought the good point about Super Bowl runs. Sometimes if you're just on winning teams, you get more recognition. For example, Patriot Richard Seymour recently found himself elected into the Hall of Fame. I like Richard Seymour. I think he was a really good player, but I don't really think Hall of Fame when I think Richard Seymour. I thought Richard Seymour benefited more from being part of a great defense with great coaches. Doesn't hurt to have Tom Brady on the other side driving you to wins either during all those great Patriot years. Zach Thomas had, Jay Fiedler as his quarterback. They were coming off the Dan Marino years. There's a lot of instability in the Dolphins organization, and he still produced year in and year out for 13 years. I mean, he was a consistent player. People just kind of lose sight of that. I think that's one of the things we talk about all the time. The best ability is availability. Well, Zach Thomas was available day in and day out, year in and year out for the better part of a decade and a half. And I think we lose sight of it, to your point, just because he didn't have as many splash plays or things like that made Sports Center. And I really think that's a disservice to Thomas, and hopefully he finds himself in the Hall of Fame someday.
All right, Nick, it's time to get your internet privacy back today on every device you own in any country you want. Don't let anyone but you control your internet. NordVPN keeps you safe from prying eyes wherever you go online with their military-grade encryption. Is your favorite Netflix or streaming content blocked in the US? You can simply connect to one of the many countries available with NordVPN and get the access you need.
That's right, Maya. So right now, get our exclusive NordVPN deal here at nordvpn.com/SMI. It's risk-free now with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, get that exclusive deal, nordvpn.com/SMI.